تحدثنا في الأجزاء السابقة من مقابلتنا مع السيد مايك فيوستر عن أنواع العسل في غرب أستراليا، كما تحدثنا عن الفرق بين عسل الجارا وعسل المنوكة، كما ناقشنا أيضا أسباب عدم انتشار عسل غرب أستراليا لحد الآن. في هذا الجزء الرابع والأخير نتحدث عن دور الحكومة والقوانين في غرب أستراليا المختصة بتنظيم إنتاج العسل، كما سنتحدث عن بعض منتجات النحل الأخرى.
So is there government control of honey production in WA?
There are many restrictions on our ability to produce Jarrah honey in Western Australia. Some of those are applied by the government and some are natural factors. Most of the Jarrah forest in Western Australia is of course under the management of the government. There are two types of government managed lands. There are national parks and then there are state forest and water reserves. Beekeepers are not allowed to go into any national park, so all of the forest that is within national parks is off limits to beekeepers. And then of the remainder of the state forest and other reserves, quite a large part of that land is unavailable as well to beekeepers because of the what's called Jarrah dieback. It's a disease or a fungus that kills Jarrah trees. Most of the Jarrah forest in Western Australia is actually restricted or has restricted access, and that means that beekeepers are not allowed to enter those areas either. The best sites for producing Jarrah honey, of course, are deep within the Jarrah forest. The only sites that we can produce organic Jarrah honey are deep within the Jarrah forest, and access to those sites is limited to a lease system. So beekeepers have to actually lease an apiary site off the government, and the government determines how many of these apiary sites are available in the forest. The government has now put a limit, so there are no more apiary sites available, and so only those sites that are available now are available to produce Jarrah honey. This is one of the reasons why very long established beekeeping businesses like ours is able to produce the best honey, because of course my grandfather was able to acquire a whole series of sites in the Jarrah forest 50 or 60 years ago. And those sites, or the actual right to lease those sites, is still held by my family today, and the other beekeepers that we source Jarrah honey from, they are in a similar situation. They have access to sites that have been in their family for many, many decades. But on top of that though, the other issues that are affecting the production of Jarrah honey include things like bushfires, for example. The government undertake what are called prescribed burns in the forests. This is of course to stop the possibility of very big and very destructive bushfires. But Jarrah trees are very sensitive to fire. So if the government conducts a prescribed burn in a part of the forest, the Jarrah trees will stop flowering. Even trees that were going to flower the year that they burn, if there's a burn, the trees won't produce flowers, they won't produce nectar, and it takes them many years to get back into their flower or their flowering cycle. So prescribed burns are an issue. There are still parts of the Jarrah forest that are being logged. The trees are being cut down. So of course when that happens, that clearly restricts our ability to collect honey. In fact, just this year, my brother has a site down in the Karri forest. He went down to look at his site to see if he might be able to collect some Karri honey, and the forestry department had come through and cut down all the Karri trees. So he won't be able to collect honey off that site now for maybe 20 or 30 years. The last one, of course, is climate change. Jarrah trees have evolved to grow in a fairly arid environment, and the average rainfall in the Jarrah forest over the last 30 years has fallen by at least 20 or 30%. So parts of the Jarrah forest which once were quite productive in terms of Jarrah honey, that productivity now has been reduced quite substantially. So In the future, there are more things that are making it difficult to produce Jarrah honey than there are things that counter that or make it easier. In the longer term, we see that Jarrah supply certainly can't increase, but we're just hopeful that we might be able to maintain about the same level of supply as what we have now. Just as an example, though, of how rare Jarrah honey is, we would estimate at the moment that Jarrah production on an average per yearly basis would be less than 10% of the amount of Manuka honey that's produced in Australia and New Zealand. So Jarrah honey is very rare, and as I said, it's unlikely that there will ever be a significant increase in production. Honey, of course, comes with, when you produce honey, you also produce wax, beeswax. We of course produce, or my family, our other beekeepers, we all produce beeswax. The average is that for every for every 10 kilograms of honey that we produce about 1 kilogram of beeswax. Beeswax now has become very popular. Western Australian beeswax is very popular. To my knowledge, Western Australia is the only place in the world that can produce organically certified beeswax. And of course, that has become very popular in Europe and other places. Our organically certified beeswax is mostly used now to manufacture hair wax, or in fact beard wax. But also it's used in cosmetics and lipsticks, and there are many other applications that beeswax go into. We actually now produce a range of fabric impregnated with beeswax, what we call wax wraps, which are an alternative to either plastic or aluminium foil. They're becoming very popular. In terms of honey, we also produce, for example, soap. These varieties of soap here, these actually contain Jarrah honey. These are natural soaps, but these also contain Jarrah honey. Honey in soap, of course, and particularly Jarrah honey in soap, is very beneficial. The honey has all of these very good properties that are good for your skin, but also the honey in the soap makes the lather, or the actual froth. It makes it much softer, and it gives it a silky feeling. So this type of Jarrah soap that we have here is one of the most nice types of soap to use in the bathroom. Then of course there are also body products, balms, lip balm, skin balms. These are all made with combinations of honey and beeswax. Over time we will be producing more and more of these products with the Forest Fresh label, but there are products available now. Honey and beeswax are very versatile products, again, that can be used in many commodities, many products, all of which are very beneficial in terms of health, good health, good living. Honey and beeswax are very good products.
So it was very nice meeting you and your home, and we are very happy to have part of your time. You gave us a lot of information, which is useful information, and many information is new for me. Yes. And it's really thankful.
Yeah, look, I'm hopeful that something in amongst all of that's useful. I guess the main thing that you've probably gleaned out of this is that there is a lot of information, behind the production of the honey. It's not just a case of, honey, beehive into the jar. There's a lot of information, and we are trying very hard to disseminate that information out into the marketplace. I guess what we've found is that the more people know about a product and how it's produced, it makes them much more likely to buy the product. Because when people understand more about the product they're eating or they're drinking, they are much more likely to pay a premium price for it. And so, that's where we are with our honey. I mean, this is premium honey. This is costs us more to produce and pack this honey. Obviously, the price is high.